Hi, I'm Josh Lockheed, Training Evangelist here at QuoteWerks. In this video, we're going to demonstrate the Act for Web integration with QuoteWerks Web. We'll walk through the complete integration, including how to search, select, and create contacts, create and update opportunities, create, update, and schedule follow-up calls, to-do tasks, and more. We'll also walk through how to select items to add to your document and how to close the opportunity as one in Act for Web. The QuoteWerks Web integration with Act for Web is a very powerful integration and has many features. We're going to start off with a typical workflow of creating a document, and then we'll work through the integration points. Please note that this video assumes that you've already set up the Act for Web integration with QuoteWerks Web. You can watch the Setting Up the Act for Web integration with QuoteWerks Web video for step-by-step instructions. To avoid any confusion, for the purposes of today's demonstration, we'll be referring to Act for Web as Act and QuoteWerks Web as QuoteWerks. We'll start by clicking on the Sold To, Shipped To tab in QuoteWerks. Anytime you're going to use the integration with Act, you want to select your contact or account before you start building your document and before you start the integration process. To do that, click on the magnifying glass to search for a specific contact. This will bring up the Lookup Act Contact window. Here you can search by name, phone, company phone, contact first name, contact last name, or contact phone, and you can choose whether or not you'd like to display the secondary contacts for that particular account as well. For this example, I'm going to search for Computer Hut. This displays the contacts associated with that company in Act. I'm going to select the contact Ryan Dan. I can pull them into the Sold To, Shipped To, or Billed To fields, or I can populate all three fields with the same contact by clicking All. It's very important that whichever contact you select as the Sold To contact is who you want to create the document for in QuoteWerks. Whoever you select as your Sold To contact in QuoteWerks is who you want to create the associated documents and activities for in Act. The reason is that we are linking back to Act for Web based on the Sold To contact, so all that information is going to flow through that contact. You want to make sure that you have this contact selected. The Shipped To and Billed To fields are just additional fields. If the shipping address and billing address are different than the Sold To, you can select different contacts or even different addresses to use. For our example, we're going to start using the same contact across all three fields. I want to point out that QuoteWerks can also create a new company and contact in Act if one does not already exist. All you have to do is put their information in one of the Sold To, Shipped To, or Billed To fields and click the orange Create New Company in Contact Manager button. However, if the company does exist and you need to add a contact to an existing account in Act, you will have to add the contact in Act from Act. Now that we have our contact, we can start building out our quote in QuoteWerks. We have the ability to organize our document into different sections using what we call heading lines, so if you right-click, you'll see there's an option that says Insert Section Header. Section headers are a great way to organize your document by grouping line items under different descriptions. For example, we'll start by adding a section named Hardware for our hardware items. We'll right-click again, choose Insert Section Header, and we'll create another section header for cabling. And then we'll do the final one again by right-clicking, and we'll name this section Services. We'll remove this extra line here and organize the headers accordingly. Now that we have our section headers created, we can begin adding items to our document. To add items to your document, click on the Products icon. This will open up the Product Lookup window, and on the left-hand side, you'll see a list of your product databases that you've set up in QuoteWerks or that you've linked to. Select the database you want to search for items from, and then search for the items you would like to add to your quote. For this example, I'm going to select a few items to add to our document. To add more than one item at a time, highlight the item, hold Control on your keyboard, and then select the next item or items. For this example, I'm going to select all 5 items. Once you've selected your items, click on the Add Selected Products to Current Document button at the top of the results window. This will bring up the Add Item Assistant. The Add Item Assistant allows you to make minor changes to this particular item before you add it to the document. We can adjust our quantity, we can adjust our pricing. If you want to apply a specific markup, you can. Just click on the ellipsis button here, and you choose your markup percentage, so in this case, maybe 20% markup. Another useful feature in QuoteWerks, and this is another reason why you'd want to select your contact first, is if you're adding items to your document, when you have the contact selected, you can actually check price history. If you've ever sold this particular item to the customer, I'll actually be able to see when I sold it to them, what the cost was, what I sold it for, which vendor I sourced it from, which document was in. All that information will be available, so it makes it really easy to stay consistent with your pricing. Additionally, I can check price history for this item not just for this customer, but for every customer. This will give me a full list of everyone I've ever sold this item to, so I can check what it is sold for in the past and adjust pricing accordingly. When you're ready to add it to the document is when those section headers are really useful. I can click the drop-down, select the heading I would like the product to display under, and click Add. For all other items that I've selected, we'll just follow the same process. We can go ahead and click out of the product lookup window. Back on the Document Items tab, you'll see that we have a list of all of our items on the document. When you have your items on the document, you can make changes as needed. So if you want to adjust an item's description, simply double-click on the description field, and this will open up the entire item's description. So if you wanted to copy and paste it from another location, or maybe in this example you just wanted to shorten it, I can hit Enter, and it'll save my changes. You can change an item's quantity, price, and any number of other fields. I can also move items around by dragging and dropping them individually or as a group. Additionally, every line item in your document has what we refer to as line attributes. For example, our installation line item here, if I wanted to mark that item as optional, I can right-click on it, choose the line attributes, and I could set this item as optional. Setting the item to optional will give my customer the ability to choose whether or not to include it as part of an order placed from a QuoteValet quote. We'll click OK, and that item is now marked as optional. Now that we've made our changes to our items, we're ready to move forward to the next step in the integration with ACT, which is creating an opportunity. We now want to save our work in QuoteWerks, so we'll click on the Save icon up at the top of the page. This will open up the Save Quote As dialog box, and we'll have the opportunity to give our quote a name. In this example, it's going to be the company that we're selling to and today's date. If you wanted to change this, you can. If you wanted to customize it, you can. This is just a default naming convention we use. QuoteWerks will automatically assign a document number for you, so you don't have to worry about assigning document numbers or tracking any type of complicated numbering systems. We'll also set the status of the quote to open. Just like your opportunities have statuses in ACT, our documents in QuoteWerks have statuses as well. In this example, we're going to set it as open. You can also assign a project number. So if you have multiple documents for the same project, you can assign them the same project number. This makes it easier to search for and report on multiple documents associated with a singular project. Below, you'll see an area for the ACT integration. This is where we're getting into the integration piece with ACT for Web, basically the second step of integration. So we're going to select Create and Update the sales opportunity, create and update a linked document, and create and update a follow-up call, meeting, and to-do. You can uncheck any of these options if they don't apply to you, and QuoteWerks will remember this moving forward. So if you leave them all checked, they'll all be checked every time you go to save the document. You can also just uncheck them as you see necessary. Let's go ahead and click on OK to save our document in QuoteWerks, and then we'll be prompted to create the new ACT opportunity. On the opportunity window, you have a couple options. We can create a brand new opportunity, or if you've previously created an opportunity in ACT, you can click on the drop-down menu and we can actually link to that existing opportunity. One thing to keep in mind is that if you do choose to link to one of those existing opportunities, QuoteWerks will take ownership of that opportunity. What that means is we will rewrite all of the information in the opportunity. So if you had saved information in the opportunity and you don't want QuoteWerks to overwrite it, then what you're going to do is create a new opportunity instead. That's what we're going to do for our example. The name of the opportunity will default to the document name from QuoteWerks and then your QuoteWerks document number. However, as you can see, you can add to this page or change it as needed. Next, we can set our process, and this information is pulling directly from the ACT for Web. We can set our process, our stage, what our probability is, and when we think it will close. You can add a new note, so maybe something like Ryan must get Matt's approval before approving the order. And then if you would like, you can choose which competitor you're up against using the competitor drop-down list. Again, this list is pulling directly from ACT. We'll go ahead and hit OK, and that'll create an opportunity in ACT for us. Next, it'll prompt us to create an ACT call activity. We can set a reminder, so since we're sending this out today, maybe we'll want to call the customer on Friday. So we'll call them on Friday, and we'll call them earlier in the morning, let's say 10:30, and it'll probably just be a 10-minute call. We'll set a reminder to go off 5 minutes before the call, so we make sure we do make that call, and then we'll click OK. That'll schedule the follow-up call for you. We can also schedule a meeting activity. So if you need to schedule a meeting, maybe you're going to do a full presentation after sending the quote, you can schedule the meeting from QuoteWerks as well. And then you also have the option to schedule a to-do. Maybe there's something outside of the meeting that you need to make sure you follow up on, or that you need to make sure is taken care of before you meet with them. You can create this to-do to remind you, and you have all the same options you would when creating a meeting activity. Now that we've saved all our information into ACT, typically you would deliver your document, but let's go into ACT and let's go to our contact. If we go to our contact and click on our Opportunities tab, it'll show us all of our open opportunities. So there's our opportunity that we just created today, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that. This will display the opportunity we created in QuoteWerks in ACT for Web. If we click on the products and services, you'll see our line item information has come over from QuoteWerks. If we click on the activity tabs, you'll see we have a call, a meeting, and to-do scheduled. On the history tab, you'll see that we've created the opportunity information, and then on the documents tab, you have a copy of the quote in the DTF file format. This file can be used to open the quote directly from QuoteWerks. Now, a couple of other things are going to happen when we send this document to the customer. We will actually store a PDF version of the document under the Documents tab. So once we email a quote, QuoteWerks Web will not only send it to the customer, but will actually attach the PDF version of the document to the Documents tab here, and ACT will also log the history that we've emailed the customer. You'll also be able to see the email's contents directly from ACT for Web as well. If we go back into QuoteWerks and click on Deliver, we're ready to send this document to the customer. We'll select our layout. If you have a cover page you'd like to use, if you have any additional layouts you want to use, and then if you have any literature you'd like to include, we can manage that all right from here. If you have terms and conditions, warranty, contracts, maybe just a support agreement, you can attach all that documentation here from the Literature tab, and then you can choose the order that we're going to merge these documents in. The order is important because we're actually going to send a single PDF to the customer. Let's go ahead and preview this PDF. This is the preview of the PDF version of the document that the customer receives from us. We have our branded information here, who we're selling to, and then we get into our line item information, and then a summary of what's being purchased. Everything looks good, so we're ready to send it out to the customer. We're going to close out of here, and we'll choose Upload to QuoteValet. QuoteValet is an add-on to QuoteWerks that allows you to send your document to your customer via an interactive online web page. So instead of the customer having to print out the PDF, they can actually sign off and pay for the document all online. So we'll just upload to QuoteValet, and then we would typically preview it before sending it out to the customer. We have our document here. Everything looks good. There's a copy of our PDF. Scroll down and you have our line item information. There's our optional item that the customer can select or deselect, and then they can accept it, and when they accept it, they can make a payment. Everything looks good, so let's go ahead and click Send Email. This will open up the Send Email window. The Send Email window will allow you to add in additional text to the email and also send or choose from an existing template. If you want to send this email to somebody else, you could add in multiple email addresses just by putting a comma in between the email addresses. And then when you're ready, simply click Send, and that'll send it out to the customer. And when you do send it out, you'll see that we're going to log it in the history in Act for Web under the Sold To contact, so you have a copy of it available there. Now, once we've sent the quote out to the customer, if the customer requests any changes, maybe they tell you they actually need 2 of these and 4 of these, you can make those adjustments, and when you do, you can actually save it as a revision. When you save a quote as a revision, you have the option of deleting previous revisions, so if I want to just work on the latest revision of the document, I can delete it. When you create that revision, it creates a copy of your document for you. You can see here we have a -01. And then if you resave our document, we can actually update the opportunity. This is helpful because it makes sure that your opportunity is always in sync with what's going on in QuoteWerks. So anytime you have a change to your document in QuoteWerks, simply hit Save, and this will prompt you to update the opportunity in ACT with any changes. If you need to adjust your call or your to-do, you can do that. And we can do the same thing for meetings. So the customer received our quote and they're ready to move forward. What we want to do is convert the quote to an order, and the reason we want to convert this quote to an order is that when we do, it'll prompt us to update the opportunity as 1 in ACT. We'll choose File, Convert to Order, and we'll receive a message saying, do you want to convert this quote to an order? After you convert it to an order, QuoteWerks will automatically open up the ACT opportunity as 1 window. So this will actually tell us that you've marked the document as 1 in QuoteWerks. Do you want to update it as 1 in ACT for Web? And in this case we do, so we can set the close date, but it'll automatically be set to today. And we could also add a new note if we'd like, or competitor information, and then click OK. Then if we go back into ACT and we refresh our opportunity, you'll see that our opportunity has now been set to Closed 1. You'll also see there's an option in ACT for Closed Lost, and we can actually support that in QuoteWerks as well. So if we had lost the opportunity, under the File menu, there's an option to convert the quote to a lost sale instead. It's grayed out because we've already converted it to 1, but it's still available for you. To recap, with the QuoteWerks Web Act for Web integration, you are able to search and select contacts to pull into the document. You can also create contacts in Act for Web directly from QuoteWerks Web. We can create and update opportunities, we can schedule follow-up calls, meetings, and to-dos, as well as update those as needed. Additionally, any line item information that's in your document can be written into the Act for Web opportunity. For more information on the Act for Web integration, please see the QuoteWerks help file or contact our team at 407-248-1481.